This past weekend, I watched someone do something that most adults will never do. They bet on themselves, not because they knew it would work, not because they had all the answers, not because the timing was perfect. They simply decided they weren't going to spend the rest of their life wondering what if. They stood in the middle of one of the biggest trade shows in the world, surrounded by thousands of vendors, people who had been doing this for years, selling products they had never sold before, like a workshop, teaching something they had never taught publicly before, building the brand that no one here had really ever even heard of. And somewhere during these 4 days, I realized something. They had already won, not because of the sales, not because of the money, but because they had the courage to step into the arena. And honestly, I think that's the lesson that most entrepreneurs desperately need to hear. Welcome back to the eForge podcast, where overwhelmed operators become empowered leaders and where we forge businesses, influence, and legacies that last. I'm your host, Cory Long. Today's episode's a little different. It's actually personal. It's emotional. And I think it's one of the most important business lessons I've shared in a long time, really. This past week, or weekend, I should say, I had the opportunity to spend 4 days alongside my daughter, Lexa. She's launched a business, a brand new brand. She's been doing this at markets for a little while. It's called That One Ring Shop. Literally all of those words, That One Ring Shop. She creates beautiful handmade sterling silver jewelry, but she decided this last weekend that she didn't want to just sell jewelry. She decided that she wanted to put herself out there and actually teach people how to make it, which is how we actually learned how to do this, or she learned how to do this in the first place. She was on a travel gig in Hawaii and she took me to a silversmithing workshop and we made rings. And since then, she has loved it and she's amazing at it. So what did she do? We're up here at our RV park right now hanging out, and Canton, Texas is about 30 minutes from here. Canton's got the largest trade days or flea market or whatever you want to call it, literally in the world. They have 4 to 5,000 vendors that are there. It's 400, I think it's 450 acres of new, old, everything in between, vintage, collectibles, cards, clothes, a little bit of everything. It's kind of crazy. And she put her neck out there and she said, "Hey, look, I'm going to rent a booth. I have no idea. I don't have all this stuff. My booth's not going to be perfect. I'm not going to have all of the exact jewelry that I want to have made," because she didn't have a whole lot of time to put it all together. And then she said, "I want to do a workshop to teach people." Well, she's done this. She's actually helped people do all kinds of different things, from build or create and make their wedding rings for each other. She's helped people make rings for spouses or loved ones. It's pretty cool. And so she's done that before, but not in this setting, not at a workshop, not in the middle of all the booths in the middle of a huge civic center where people are watching and eyeballs are all on her. And she put the money out there and she walked in as the new kid. The average age of the people around us had to have been in the 60s, 70s, and even 80s. There's one gentleman that was across from us that was 90 years old that has been doing this for decades. Nobody knew her. Nobody knew her brand. Everybody was looking at her because here's this young blonde girl with this little 3-month-old baby that walks in the door with this booth set up that looks completely different than everything else in the building. And there her mom and I were helping, along with a friend that came for the weekend. And together we built something this weekend. But not the thing that most people think. So let's dive in. Look, most people never actually fail. I've been coaching entrepreneurs for over a decade now. I've literally taught over 5,000 marketers how to build businesses all around the world. We have students literally in other countries. I personally, our agency personally has done work around the world. We've worked in Australia and in the UK. We've worked in Germany. We've worked in Spain, South America, Canada. We've worked on islands. We've done all kinds of stuff virtually with our digital marketing company. I've taught people all around the world from all different cultures how to build a business. Can I tell you something I realized? Most people never actually fell in business. They fell before they ever even start, because they spend years thinking, planning, researching. They watch YouTube and they listen to podcasts and they read books and they buy courses, and they're like, man, I'll do it whenever I feel ready, and I'll do it whenever I have more money. Well, life's just too busy right now, and I've got kids, or I have to take care of this or the spouse or family or my parents or maybe my kid, like, right? And they're always waiting until, and then they never move. They never move. They never actually do the thing that they said that they were going to go do. Watching Lexa reminded me of something. Action beats certainty every single time. You're never going to be certain. You're never going to be certain when you start a business. It's always going to have risk. There's always going to be the potential of it failing. There's always going to be the potential of it completely going off the rails. And it could have done that for her. And she walked completely into the unknown this last week, not knowing what the environment was going to be like, setup was going to be like, booth was going to be like, traffic was going to be like, because this is literally the end of July, August, and in Canton, Texas, I think the truck read 107 when we went out on Thursday. 107 degrees outside. Now, we were in an air conditioned building, so that was nice, but it's hot. And normally, this civic center that we were in would be completely full. Like, there would be no room to get around. People would be shoulder to shoulder. It was not like that at all. There were moments when it got a little busy, but it was pretty slow because it's hot. People don't want to get out in the heat, come and walk around out in the heat, because most of it is outdoors. Most of it is not air conditioned. We were literally in the only building that was air conditioned in the whole place. So there wasn't anybody actually coming there to search for her. Nobody knew who she was. Nobody was searching for that one ring shop. There wasn't a line waiting. There wasn't a crowd cheering. There was just a blank piece of concrete, a dream, and 4 days to find out if people even cared. And honestly, that's entrepreneurship. It's walking into rooms where nobody knows your name and believing that you'll leave differently. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's putting yourself out there in a way that maybe you've never done before. Putting yourself out there in a way that you know that you're going to be different at the other end of this. Look, success looks different than you think. If you ask most people how the weekend went, they'd probably ask, how much money did she make? Right? But that's the wrong question. Here's what actually she gained over the weekend. She sold a bunch of handmade rings. She even taught workshops. People from all over the country now own something that she created. One lady was even from like Maryland. She had people from Oklahoma and Louisiana and Texas and other states, Arkansas and other places that people had driven in. They drove here and were part of and flew in and were a part of what was going on. Look, she found potential wholesale accounts while we were there. People that were vendors at other places or had boutiques or other things that they wanted to sell her jewelry at their workshops or at their places. Like, she had some really great conversations. One girl is already asking her for pricing and how fast can she get it and how many can she make and all of this stuff, right? She found boutiques that she can actually go do workshops with. And so they're going to collaborate, and she's going to put a workshop together in their boutique so that she can do it together. That way they sell some clothes, they sell some jewelry. It's going to be a great opportunity for her to get to know people around here. She even booked some custom orders. She built relationships with people that are already asking her, hey, can you come down and do a workshop in our location? I'll bring all my friends and we'll come in and we'll do all this together. And she's already looking at, like, when can I do that? How can I do that? How can I be mobile and go set up somewhere else and do my workshops? Because she has to bring all of her silversmithing equipment and tools and all of her stuff to be able to set up there and to be able to do the thing. She grew her audience. She had people that started following her on Instagram and Facebook, and she started to see people reaching out to her from things that she didn't really expect. We were creating content the whole time. We were creating reels and videos, and we were putting together imagery, and we were leveraging AI through all of that, right? And she proved to herself, guess what? I can do this. I can do this. And honestly, the last one is worth more than all the others combined. The fact that she felt comfortable, the fact that she proved to herself that she could do it was worth more than all of the other stuff that happened, because in the end, every business can, if you're a business, if you own a business, if you're an entrepreneur, you're listening to this or watching this, a business can just go away. Like I've watched it. I've watched our own businesses. They can crumble overnight. Like it can happen. It's just a part of it. If you read anyone's success story, any of the big boys out there that have made tons of money, they've failed and had success, and they've failed and had success. And many of them have 2 or 3 bankruptcies in their line of success. It's kind of a part of it. Most people don't see it that way, but that's the truth. The truth is we have to believe in ourselves, because then we can start over and do it all over again. She has that faith. She knows now that she can do this. Now it's not, can I do this? Now it's, I can do this. And what's next? Now, here's where the story changes, because I don't actually think Canton built her business. I think Canton built her. Let me tell you what I mean. Look, I hear entrepreneurs say all the time, I just need more confidence. I, I just I just need to know more. I need more confidence. I need to know it well enough that when I talk to somebody that I can sell it, and I can talk about it, and I can do this thing. And I just need to have more experience, or I just need more confidence. No, no, you don't. You need more courage. You need more courage. Look, confidence is the reward. Courage is the requirement. I'm going to say that again. Confidence is the reward. Courage is the requirement. Nobody starts confident. Confidence comes after you survive the first event, right? After you show up for that first sales call, that first video, that first rejection, that first customer, that first launch, that first failure, that first success, that first talk on stage, that maybe Zoom or webinar or whatever, that your workshop that you're doing that nobody shows up for, right? Confidence comes after you survive that. Confidence comes after you've lost that big client. Confidence comes after you've totally fallen on your face. I've been there, done that. It also comes after the big success and after the big, huge win and after all of the other stuff. Like it comes through that whole thing. So Lexa didn't leave Canton confident because everything was easy. It was, oh my goodness, it was hot and it was miserable and it was hard, and we were loading and unloading tables, and it was crazy, because people were there talking about how great her little boy was, because they didn't even know she had a baby there. The baby wasn't there the whole time. The baby was back at the house for much of it. But even when the baby was there, they didn't even realize the baby was there, because he's such a good boy. And she did so well juggling all of that. Was it perfect? No. Could she do it better next time? She better, because next time she's going to need to make sure that she manages her time better and make sure that she gets her meals in, because she forgot, well, not forgot, but it made it really difficult to do lunch a couple of days. And there were just things that didn't work out well. The booth wasn't exactly the way she wanted it. We didn't get the backdrops in the way we wanted them. There wasn't really anything set up to separate our booth from the ones next to us. And she'd really like something to kind of make her booth stand out and look different. But here's the deal. She left confidence. She left confident because she realized that she could handle hard, right? She could handle it when things were tough. She could handle it when things didn't go right. She could handle it when at the end of it and we're packing up, we forgot the tools to tear apart this stuff. And she went in and she asked every old man in that building, do you have one of these? Right? She was looking for the tool, and all these old men were talking to her about, no, I didn't bring my toolbox. And she finally ran down the security guard guy, which actually had a toolbox, and was able to give her one of the tools to be able to take it apart. She'd figured it out, because that's entrepreneurship, right? Being an entrepreneur is overcoming. It's figuring out things when things aren't easy. You know, Canton taught things that no online course ever could. Sometimes the marketplace is the best teacher. It showed her how people shop, right? Because we had all these people come in by the booth, and some people stopped, some people didn't. We know what her audience is. Like, we know who buys from her. We know what catches their attention now better than other things. We know what questions to ask when they come up to the booth or they come to ask about the workshop. The first day, we were not aggressive about the workshop. And guess how many workshop attendees we had? None. But the second day, she got aggressive and she had two, and she had to sell. Now we learned what they value, what pricing works, how to talk to strangers. We actually learned in the pricing that there were other workshops that are happening in the area, and she was probably half the price of them. Half, half the price. She needs to go up. She learned she was too cheap. She learned how to recover when nobody walks into your booth for 20, 30 minutes and you kind of start to get stressed. She learned how to sell because she had to actually explain what was going on. We actually even did a video during it, and it made her so nervous to do a video so that we could promote the workshop and talk about it and how it works and the process that somebody would go through from the time that they signed up. She learned how to teach because the first time, even though she's taught this many, many times before, doing it live in an environment like that's way different than doing it at your studio where you have all your tools and equipment and you feel comfortable and all that. She didn't. She was at a little workbench kind of thing that we just or a table that we threw together to be able to use for this, and she figured out, how do I teach these people? And then she learned how to pivot because during part of it, she had to come up with other ways to do things because things weren't working the way she thought they would with maybe the metal or the soldering or one of the, one of the little girls while she was there decided to put the stone in the bezel while we were sitting there. And guess what? You don't need it once the bezel's made. If you put the stone in there, many times you can't get the stone out without messing the bezel all up and doing it all over again. The poor little girl was like, I am so sorry. Right. And so there were things like that that she learned, and she learned it as we went, which was really cool. Look, the marketplace has a funny way of exposing what you don't know and rewarding you for learning quickly. First day, no workshops. Second day, couple workshops. Third and fourth day, workshops both days. And some of them happened instantly. One of the girls reached out and said, hey, things are slow up here where we're at with our booth, and I really want to do the workshop. When's your next opening? And my daughter said, well, tomorrow morning at 9. And then she thought, if it's slow, why don't just get her down here now? So she wrote her back and said, hey, you want to come right now? We'll just do it right now. And 20 minutes later, the girl showed up in our booth, and boom, there we were doing a workshop. That's how you learn quickly and pivot and do what you need to do. And she learned on the fly. The next workshop is going to be that much better. It's going to be that much more streamlined. She's going to have a better process. She'll have a better setup. She's going to have her pitch down and her talk down, and the way she's going to explain it's going to be better. Food and drink and all the other stuff's going to be better because she knows now. Look, follow up is where the businesses are going to be built. And now we have a little bit of a list, and she has some people that she's going to talk to because the event wasn't the business. The follow up is going to be the business. Sometimes I think we think the event, the big thing, the big whatever it is, that's going to be the business. But the reality is these events that like the ones that I've gone and spoke at or we put together or whatever, that's not usually where the magic happens. Usually the magic happens in the follow up. It's in reaching back out to those people, seeing how we can help them, seeing how we can serve them, seeing if maybe she can do workshops or jewelry or whatever. For me, it's seeing if I can help them with their marketing agency or their business or AI SEO or whatever, right? Now she has wholesalers to call. She has boutiques to meet up with. She's got some a hat company and a coffee company and some other places that she's like, man, wouldn't it be really cool if we could coordinate something and get them together? Now, again, this is all brand new for her. I can guarantee you, just thinking about all this is going to make her sweaty palmed and nervous and unsure of herself. But she'll do it. She'll do it anyway because she knows that this is the next step for her in her growth, for her to grow as a business owner and for her business to grow. She already is going to have some workshops that she wants to schedule in the near future. She's got a couple of custom orders that she needs to complete, which she'll video and get more content out of. And she has all these new relationships to build. And guess what? That's entrepreneurship. That's entrepreneurship. Most people think the success happens at the event, but it really doesn't. Success happens in what you do after the event. It's what happens after the event where you develop the deep relationships and you start to get those collaborations set up and who knows? Who knows where this could go from just any one of the relationships that she developed while she was at the event. Look, I'll be honest, watching my daughter this weekend, um, I wasn't most proud when she made a sale. She did that quite a bit. I've watched her do that though. I wasn't most proud even when she taught the workshop. Even though that was a proud moment too. I heard people compliment her jewelry the whole time. Like people would come up and they'd look at it and go, man, she is super talented. No one else really in that whole building. Well, none of them really, not a single booth had anything that was custom handmade like that. Everything was something that they had bought from somebody else. None of it was actually made by the person standing in the booth. Here's though what made me proud of her. She refused to hide. She stepped into the marketplace. She made herself vulnerable. She risked failure. She risked rejection. She risked hearing no, right? And she did it anyway, knowing full well that it might completely flop, that she might lose the money, that she might not be able to. Maybe the workshop didn't work. Maybe she wasn't able to make the rings while she was there. Maybe the things just didn't work the way she thought it was going to work, and yet she did it anyway. That's what I'm most proud of, because now she stepped into the arena. She looked around at the audience, and now she's not afraid to go do it again and again and again, because that's courage. Here's the cool part about it. Courage compounds on itself. I literally watched while we were there. I watched people close deals that were cash deals in the thousands. Thousands. One guy did $8,600 in cash right across from us. Cash deal while we were at the trade show. There were guys that said that they would close anywhere from 15 to 20K of profit in that 4 days. Not bad for 4 days. There were businesses that had been there. One little lady we'd met was 87 years old, and she had been there for 33 years since Canton Trade Days opened. And I thought, since that building had opened, and I thought, man, that is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And they come back every single first Monday trade day, right? They come back and they do their thing and they set their booth up and they see all of the other little vendors. Sunday morning, they had church in the building. Like it's a little family. It's a community of people that watch out for each other. There were everything in there from old guns and ammo to new jewelry to old jewelry to playing cards and Pokemon and all kinds of things, from Tonka trucks to metal art to quilts to you name it, clothing to all kinds of antiques. There was a little bit of everything in there, coins, everything in that room. And maybe for you, it's not a trade show. Maybe your Canton isn't a trade show. Maybe it's the businesses or the business that you've been talking about for years. Maybe it's the podcast that you've never recorded or the book that you've never written. Maybe it's the agency that you've never launched. I don't want to get too much into a tangent, but guys, can I just tell you how many people, because I've watched this from the inside, how many people buy courses and never log into them? They'll spend $5,000, $10,000 on a course and never even log into it. They feel good about themselves because they bought the course. They paid for the thing. They got the warm fuzzies, but they never actually followed through and do the thing. I've seen it over and 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 over again. Maybe it's the video that you never posted because you're too afraid to put yourself out there, and your hair's got to be just right, or whatever. The lighting has to be just right, or it's got to be the perfect day, or it's got to be the perfect words, or it's got to be just the right angle, or maybe it's a sales call that you never made because you're too afraid. Maybe it's the first employee that you've been afraid to hire. Maybe you needed to hire and you're worn out and you're like, oh, I'll just do it myself. Look, whatever your Canton is, whatever that trigger is, whatever that thing is, stop waiting until you feel confident. Confidence doesn't come before courage. It comes because of courage. It comes because of courage. And here's what I hope you remember. Nobody knew that one ring shop or Lexa on Thursday. But that's not true anymore. Not because she got lucky, because she showed up. Because she showed up. So I would ask, where are you going to show up? Right? If today's episode challenged you, I want to leave you with one final thought. The greatest entrepreneurs I've ever met weren't the smartest. Some of them I wondered how they even were entrepreneurs. They weren't the most talented. They weren't the most connected. They were simply willing to step into the rooms where nobody knew them and trust that if they kept showing up, one day they would. That's what entrepreneurship is. It's betting on the person that you're becoming. You're going to leave changed. She's not the same person as she was 4 days ago when she set up her first booth in Canton. When we walked in uncertain of where the booth was going to be and what was going to happen and how we were going to set it up and what angle it needed to be and what do the jewels need to, or the jewelry needs to look like, and should I set up and tear down every day, and right? If you keep showing up, one day they're going to know who you are. And that's what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is betting on the person that you're becoming, not the certainty of the outcome. We didn't know what was going to happen with this event. We didn't know if it'd make a lot of money, a little money, go in the hole. We had no idea. But she bet on who she was becoming. We bet on who she was becoming. We don't mind investing in that. You need to invest in yourself. So here's my challenge. What's your Canton? What have you been putting off because you're waiting for the perfect time? What have you been putting off because you're waiting for the perfect plan, the perfect amount of money, the perfect level of confidence, the perfect level of knowledge? Oh, I just got to have it all planned out, mapped out. I've got to have a business plan. I've got to go make sure that I got all this stuff together. Stop waiting. Look, the marketplace is going to reward people who show up, not people who stay safe. Thank you for following this journey with our family. I'm excited to see where that one ring shop goes from here. I'm even more excited about the person Lex is becoming along the way. She's going to change. She's going to grow. She has to. She has no choice, right? I'm excited for you. Like, how are you going to grow when you step out, when you become the person that you were called to be? Start that business or ministry or podcast or write that book. Show up for that event. Speak at that, right? Hey, if you get a chance today, go find that one ring shop online. Give her a follow. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. She's all over the place. Let's make sure that we support these small businesses. And she's just one of many, right? Follow those small businesses in your town. Support them. Comment on their stuff. And then you put yourself out there. You put yourself out there before you're ready. That's how you know you're going to grow. You'll become a different person. Look, I hope today reminded you that your greatest breakthrough might not come from knowing more. I can guarantee you that's not going to get you there. Buying another training course isn't going to get you a business. It's going to come from finally stepping into the arena. If this episode encouraged you, subscribe to the show, leave a review, share it with someone who's been sitting on a dream for far too long. You know them. They've been talking about, I'm going to start this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to build this, I'm going to rent that, I'm going to sell that. Share the show with them. Hey, and if you're brave enough to step into the arena, drop a comment with your dream. What's your Canton? What's the one thing that you've been putting off doing? What's the one thing that you need to stop right now and go do right now? Drop it in the comment. Whatever platform you're listening to or watching this on. Guys, until next Thursday, keep forging forward, stay aligned with your calling, build with clarity, confidence, and conviction, because this is the forge where leaders are made and legacies are built.